Hi everybody and welcome to another chapter of Matilda. So this is the contents page with all the chapters, and we are on chapter 3 today, and it's called The Hat and the Super Glue. Now yesterday we finished, and Matilda was going to say she was going to play a trick on her dad. So the hat and the super glue. I don't really think a hat and super glue go together. Alright, let's see if what we think will happen is going to happen. The hat and the super glue. The following morning, just before the father left for his beastly second-hand car garage, Matilda slipped into the cloakroom and got hold of the hat he wore each day to work. She had to stand on her toes and reach up as high as she could with a walking stick in order to hook the hat off the peg. And even then she only just made it. The hat itself was one of those flat-top pork pie jobs with a jay feather stuck in the hat band, and Mr. Wormwood was very proud of it. He thought it gave him a rakish starish look, especially if he wore it at an angle and his loud checked jacket and green tie. Matilda, holding the hat in one hand with a thin tube of superglue in the other, proceeded to squeeze a line very neatly around the inside rim of the hat. She very carefully hooked the hat back on its peg with the walking stick. So, why do you think she's done this first thing in the morning? If she did it the night before, what would happen to the superglue? The superglue would dry, wouldn't it? So she's done it very clever just before he puts it on. She timed this operation very carefully, applying the glue just as her father was getting up from the breakfast table. So that's what we spoke about. Mr. Wormwood didn't notice anything when he put his hat on, but when he arrived at the garage, he still couldn't get it off. Superglue is very powerful stuff. So powerful it would take off your skin if you pull too hard. So there Mr. Wormwood is. He's got his hat on. He's trying to pull it off. Oh, it's not working. Oh, it's not working. Oh, but it's pulling my hair and it's pulling my skin. So what is he going to do? Mr. Wormwood didn't want to be scalped, so he had to keep the hat on his head the whole day long, even when putting sawdust in the gearboxes and fiddling the mileage of cars with his electric drill. In an effort to save face, he adopted a casual attitude, hoping that his staff would think that he actually meant to keep his hat on all day, just for the heck of it, like gangsters do in films. So what he wants is he doesn't want anyone to notice that he's wearing a hat. So he's saying he wants to save face, which that means he doesn't want to be embarrassed or he doesn't want to look silly. He adopted a casual attitude. So he just pretends like he means to wear it. Okay, so his staff actually think he meant to keep his hat on all day. So Mr. Wormwood does not want to look silly or stupid in front of the staff that work at the garage. So he just pretends like he is meant to be wearing it. When he got home that evening, he still couldn't get the hat off. "Don't be silly," his wife said. "Come here, I'll take it off for you." She gave the hat a sharp yank. Mr. Woodward let out a yell that rattled the window panes. "Ow!" he screamed. "Don't do that! Let go! You'll take half my skin off my forehead." So where his hat is obviously sitting on his forehead and going all the way around the back. Matilda, nestled in her usual chair, was watching this performance over the rim of her book with some interest. So there she is, Matilda. She is watching her plan take shape, and she doesn't say anything that if she just says she's watching it, but maybe we'll find out if she thinks it's funny or something. But how is Mr. Wormwood going to get this hat off? "What's the matter, Daddy?" she said. "Has your head suddenly swollen or something?" The father glared at his daughter with a deep suspicion, but he said nothing. How could he? Mrs. Wormwood said to him, "It must be super glue. It couldn't be anything else. That'll teach you to go playing around with nasty stuff like that. I expect you were trying to stick another feather in your hat." "I haven't touched the flaming stuff," Mr. Woodward shouted. He turned and looked again at Matilda, who looked back at him with large, innocent brown eyes. So he's suspicious of her, which says that. Where does it say? It says that he is suspicious. Oh, I can't find it. Oh, I really can't find it. So somewhere it says that he's suspicious of her because he thinks that she has done that. Mrs. Wormwood said to him, "You should read the label on the tube before you start messing around with dangerous products. Always follow the instructions on the label." So Mrs. Woodward's saying this, that he's just playing around with super glue and he should read the instructions on the label. That is going to make Mr. Woodward even more cross because he said he didn't touch the stuff. So he's going to be getting really, really cross now. "What in heaven name's you talking about, you stupid witch?" Mr. Wormwood shouted, clutching the brim of his hat to stop anyone trying to pull it off again. "Do you think I'm so stupid I would glue this thing on my head on purpose?" So now Mr. Woodward is absolutely... What word could you use to describe? What adjective? He's mad. He's furious. He's angry. I think I'm going to stick with the word furious because I like that word. He's absolutely furious that the hat is stuck on his head and that everyone keeps saying to him that he has done it when he knows that he hasn't. And like I said before, he is... Oh, I found it. Suspicion. Deep suspicion. He's very suspicious that it was Matilda that has done it. Matilda said, "There's a boy down the road who got some super glue on his finger without knowing it, and then he put his finger up his nose." So what do you think happened? He's got super glue on his finger, puts it up his nose. It's going to get stuck there, isn't it? Mr. Woodward jumped. "What happened to him?" he spluttered. "The finger got stuck inside his nose," Matilda said, "and he had to go around like that for a week. People kept saying to him, 'Stop picking your nose,' and he couldn't do anything about it. He looked like an awful fool." So now Matilda is saying that this has happened to this boy, but she said that the boy looked like an awful fool. So what do you think that's going to do to Mr. Wormwood? That is going to make him even more cross and angry because it's going to make him feel like he's going to look like a fool, which is really going to, I think, push him over to boiling point. "Serves him right," said Mrs. Woodward. "He shouldn't have put his finger up there in the first place. It's a nasty habit. If all children had super glue on their fingers, they'd soon stop doing it." Matilda said, "Grown-ups do it too, Mummy. I saw you doing it yesterday in the kitchen." So Matilda is really, really clever. Not only is she listening, but she's watching everything that goes on. And she said to her mum, "Well, you said children do it, but actually you do it as well." "That's quite enough from you," Mrs. Woodward said, turning pink. So why do you think she's turned pink? Because she's embarrassed, isn't she? She's been caught out. Mr. Wormwood, had to keep his hat on all through supper in front of the television. He looked ridiculous, and he stayed very quiet, very silent. Why do you think he's staying so silent? Because he probably feels a bit ridiculous. He probably feels, like it says here, like an awful fool. When he went up to bed, he tried to get the thing off, and so did his wife, but it wouldn't budge. "How am I going to have a shower?" he demanded. "You just have to do it without it, won't you?" his wife told him, and later on she watched her skinny little husband sulking in his bedroom, in his purple striped pyjamas, with a pork pie hat on his head. She saw how stupid he looked. Hardly the man a wife dreams about, she told herself. So here he is at bedtime. It said he was skulking around. So if you look at his body language, his head's kind of down, his arms are down, which means that he's feeling really miserable with himself because he can't get the hat off. Mr. Wormwood discovered the worst thing about having a permanent hat on his head was having to sleep in it. It was impossible to lie comfortably on the pillow. "Now stop fussing around," his wife said to him after he'd been tossing and turning about for an hour. "I expect you'll lose it by the morning, and then it will slip off easily." But it wasn't loose by the morning, and it wouldn't slip off. So Mrs. Wormwood took a pair of scissors and cut the thing off his head bit by bit. First the top and then the brim. Where the inner band had stuck to his hair all around the sides and the back, she had to chop his hair off right to the skin, so that he finished up with a bald white ring around his head. So all around here was all bald, and then he still got the hair on top of his head. Look, you can see in the picture here. Like some sort of monk. And in the front, where the band had stuck directly onto the bare skin, there remained a whole lot of small patches of brown leathery stuff that no amount of washing would ever get off. So you can see in the picture, although he's got hair on the top and hair on the sides, they've got little patches, so all of the brown hat has actually stuck to his skin, so that won't come off. At breakfast, Matilda said to him, "You must try and get those bits off your forehead, Daddy. It looks as though you've got little brown insects crawling all over you. People will think you've got lice." So now she said that, what do you think is going to happen? He's going to get even more furious, isn't he? Because now he looks a bit silly, doesn't he? He does look a bit ridiculous. "Be quiet," her father snapped. "Just keep your nasty mouth shut, will you?" All in all, the most satisfactory exercise. So where she says it's a satisfactory exercise, it means that actually she had a good result. She reckons she taught her dad a lesson. But it was surely too much to hope that had taught her father a permanent lesson. So she's saying it was a good exercise, that she's taught him, well, she's saying that she's given him a punishment, basically, but she reckons that she hasn't taught him a lesson. Right, now that's the end of our chapter today, but why doesn't she think she's taught him a lesson? Just because the hat was stuck on his head, will he suddenly turn into being a nice man? Will he suddenly change his ways? Well, they say a leopard doesn't change its spots, which is a famous saying. It means that whatever happens, that a leopard can't change spots. So it means people don't really change as well. So if he's not a very nice man, just because he got a hat stuck, is he going to change? What do you think? Well, maybe we'll find out tomorrow to see. Well, thanks for watching today, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.